Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Hoosier Life. I believe this is episode 7. We're, I think, 8 weeks deep. We had to take last week off, the holiday week, a couple busy weeks for Josh and I, but we're glad to be back. There's a lot to talk about. NBA free agency, MLB is heating up. It's getting interesting. The Olympics are right around the corner. We've got tennis. We've got golf. We've still got soccer. So we're going to cover it all here today. Josh, are you ready to go?
I'm ready. It's been a fun kind of month of kind of the championship season. Now we're kind of wrapping that up, but still a lot of sports on the docket.
Yeah, most wonderful time of the year. And if you didn't believe us at first, you got to believe us now. And Josh, I think I heard the phone ring on the other end right when we got going. So I think that's going to get it out of the way for us, which should be nice. I think it's the first time ever that it's happened that early. But good to know that we're getting that out of the way. So we're going to open it up with something IU, as always, week in and week out. That's what we're going to do. Basketball season is not too far away, not as close as we would like, but still not too far away. So, Josh, let's talk about our top 3 home games next year. Teams are going to come into Bloomington, try and take one on the road, but hopefully outcome will be the same as last year. No one will come into Assembly Hall and get the win other than IU. I'll start us off here with our top 3 home games. Number 3 for me, is going to be Wisconsin. I think they play twice. I have to double check that. I think they play twice next year. Yeah, they do play twice. Thank you, Josh. And after last year, we had that 1-point win in Assembly Hall with the students gone over winter break. And then the game on the road when Yogi tried to do almost all of it, that didn't end too well. A lot of foul trouble going on there for IU. But after last year, both these games, with the home one and the road one, can kind of not change the momentum of the season, but they play a huge role, because this is going to be a game that Nigel Hayes is going to want, and James Blackman's going to want, and Thomas Bryant is going to want. This is going to be a game probably outside of Purdue that IU is going to want the most. And, we'll see how they respond to that, because there was a lot going on last year, and Hoosier Nation was unhappy after that road game for a lot of reasons. So I think that home game against Wisconsin is going to get chippy, and I think it's going to be must-watch TV. And if you're in Bloomington, I think it's got to be a must-attend.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, Wisconsin's always a big-time game. They're always coached well, even though it's not Bo Ryan. Greg Gard is still there, and he's still a very good coach. My number 3, though, is going to be Purdue. I mean, it doesn't get bigger than this. It's your in-state rival. It'll probably mean something depending on when it is in the schedule. That hasn't come out quite yet. But the best thing is that you play them twice, and I think that's best for all parties involved. Get a game in Bloomington, get a game in West Lafayette. And that's the best case scenario for both sides, because the past couple of years it's been just in Indiana or just in Purdue, but now you get this twice, and it's such a good in-state rivalry. And you're taking something away from just the neutral viewer or even both fan bases if you only play them once in either Purdue or Bloomington. But this game at Assembly Hall, it was raucous last year. It's going to be raucous again this year. So that is my number 3 on the list.
Yeah, you nailed it right there. That's number 2 on mine. I can't leave this off the list. It was the greatest rivalry game I've been to in college sports last year. I was talking to my uncle who went to IU for 4 years, and he said the Purdue games were always intense. But he said just on TV he could tell that it was 50 times louder than it was, because both teams were ranked for the first time against each other in, I can't remember how many years, but it's been a little while, surprisingly, for how good these programs have been in the last while. But with the exception of the dark years, of course. But this Purdue game is going to be enormous. Yes, they play twice, and they will be out for blood when we travel to West Lafayette. Hopefully we can get a lot of Hoosier fans going up there whenever that game is, whether it's a Wednesday or a Saturday. I know I'm going to try. But this home game is a must-win, because Purdue's got some guys coming back. They're still going to be good. They had a rough exit in the NCAA tournament last year, an embarrassing loss. That's going to be in the back of their heads, maybe in the front of their heads to begin the year, but at least the back of their heads for the entire season. That was classic Purdue, the thing that we like to poke fun at them for. They can't finish, blah, blah, blah. So they've got that to worry about. They've got IU to worry about. And I think that game is just going to be, from here on out, with the way that both programs are going, the games are just going to be unbelievable between these two. So that's my number 2, is when Purdue comes to town.
Yeah, no doubt. Nailed it right there. But my number 2 You didn't get them last year in Bloomington, so this is kind of the first time for me seeing them in person, and that is Michigan State. Tom Izzo, Tom Crean, they have known each other forever. They coached together back in the 90s. This is always a great game. Last year, it was a good game in the first half until Indiana completely lost it. But I want to say almost a better Michigan State team won it, although Indiana ended up winning the Big Ten later on, even though they lost this game by about 20 points. But this game in Bloomington, it's going to be exciting. Michigan State, Indiana, two of the best college basketball teams in the Big Ten or even in the country next year, even without Denzel Valentine. I'm sure Michigan State will be right back up there. Indiana is going to be up there. And you only play them once. It's only in Bloomington this year, so get one chance to beat them, and I think they'll have a solid chance, especially at home. So that's my number 2.
Yeah, and it seems like there are a lot of these must-win games that we're talking about so far. Excuse me. And that's obviously just right now. A lot could change. Michigan State could flop. Probably won't given their head coach, but, a lot of things could happen. But that's a good number 2. I had to leave that off my list. But number 1, there's no way we disagree on this, is when North Carolina comes to town. I mean, this team was 30 feet away from a national championship. And yes, they lost some guys, but I mean, this is North Carolina we're talking about, a perennial powerhouse, and they're coming into Assembly Hall after the beatdown that Duke gave us last year on the road. This is a chance to redeem ourselves. We can play with anyone in the country. They beat us last year. We're going to play them at home. We've got them on our home turf where no one beats us. Let's see what we can do with them. It's going to be incredible. I don't know how expensive tickets are going to be. I'm fairly confident we're not going to get them as sophomores in our student pack, but I'm fairly confident that we're going to do all we can to find a way to get our hands on those tickets. So, I mean, that is absolutely must-watch basketball right there. I can't wait. I'm already excited for it, and it's 4.5 months away. It's going to be unbelievable. That's my number 1, is when North Carolina comes to Bloomington.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that one. I mean, you just lost to them last year in the NCAA tournament. You lost a couple pieces, but you got most of the same core back. And some people would say that it's late November, early December. This would be your first big test, but it's not your first big test because you opened with Kansas all the way in Pearl Harbor. But nonetheless, this game is at home. You didn't lose a game at home last year. You're not going to want to start it off early in the season with a loss. It's the ACC Big Ten Challenge, so they're always great games. And you just lost to Duke last year, so you're going to want to redeem yourself in this ACC Big Ten Challenge. And couldn't be a better matchup with North Carolina. So that is obviously my number 1. Can't disagree with you on that one.
It's going to be unbelievable. I can't wait. But obviously we have to, unfortunately. But that's a great out-of-conference game, and IU's got some great out-of-conference games, and we'll do that in our preview show, which is coming up in a little bit. We're not going to do that quite yet. Still a little early, but when we do our preview show, I mean, there are so many games out of conference to talk about. The schedule is going to be jam-packed. But we're going to get to that later, weeks to come. We got other stuff to worry about right now. The talk of the town right now in the sports world is the free agency in the NBA. I mean, first of all, the money that is being tossed around to guys like Dwight Powell, who's getting $40 million almost. Guys like Kent Bazemore, who are going to just be set for life. And these guys are role players, and they're just breaking the bank. And then you throw in guys like Kevin Durant leaving town and Harrison Barnes leaving town and all this stuff. Josh, let's cover it all right now. First and foremost, obviously the biggest question in free agency is surrounding Kevin Durant. In your opinion, did he make the right choice?
I would have to say he did make the right choice. If he really wants to go get that championship and really wants to take it to that next level, he did the right thing. I know that the Thunder were 1 game away. They blew a 3-1 lead. They were 1 game away from the finals. But if you really want to go out and get a ring, the Warriors give you the best shot. They got Steph Curry, obviously. They got the whole group back except for Andrew Bogut and Harrison Barnes, who is basically, that's just Durant taking his place. They got Zaza Pachulia, who almost was a starter somehow in the All-Star game last year. So he's a solid, I guess, center to fill Andrew Bogut's vacancy now. This team is built to win. Ray Allen might come back. I mean, David West took the veteran minimum. This team is built to win right now, and I think they're going to do it next year. So Kevin Durant, you can't really doubt him for this because he wanted to win. And he's doing everything he can in his power to go do that, and the Warriors give him the best chance.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say that he made the wrong choice by leaving Golden State, who's is on the verge of being a dynasty. I mean, they're absolutely loaded. But this is one thing that I can't look past. And my short answer is I don't think he made the right choice. And let me just get that out of the way now. Excuse me, I can't speak right now. Let me explain this. He couldn't mesh in Oklahoma City with Russell Westbrook. I mean, not easy to do. Russ is a guy that can score at will. He's a guy that always wants the ball in his hands, what have you. And he's a scoring point guard. So, that's what you're going to face when you have a scoring point guard. Unfortunately for Kevin Durant, Steph Curry is also a scoring point guard. They also have the best three-point shooter in the league in Klay Thompson. They also have a guy named Draymond Green who's a total hothead and doesn't strike me as the easiest teammate to work with. So you're leaving a place where you are the leader. You and this one other guy named Russell Westbrook are the leader of that team. And you're going on to a team with the reigning two-time MVP, a hothead in Draymond Green, and a superstar in Klay Thompson. And you're telling me that you're going to mesh with those three guys when you couldn't mesh with Russell Westbrook, a guy you've been with for 8 years? I think the whole thing is ridiculous. And I value chemistry on a team more than most people. I think it's a huge, huge part in winning a championship. Because if you want to win a championship, you have to play better than everyone else in every way. And if you're not clicking, first of all, you're not going to make the playoffs looking at you, Kobe, Dwight, and Steve Nash. But you're definitely not going to win a title. I mean, it's absolutely I'm very scared that this is going to send all of their careers in kind of not a free fall, but it's going to throw them off a little bit. And not to mention the one thing that killed them in the finals, their lack of paint presence when Bogut went down and Draymond was suspended. They didn't address it at all. They let Bogut walk. I think they let Ezeli walk. Their only center on the roster right now is Zaza Pachulia and Mo Space, both completely on a different level than guys like Bogut and Ezeli. I mean, those guys are not going to win a championship leaning the helm for the big men for the Warriors. I mean, the one problem that they had in the finals, they completely disregarded. So I think with Kevin Durant, this is not a lock they're not a lock to win the West, let alone the NBA title. I think he made a mistake. I really do.
Yeah, no, there is definitely something to say about meshing with a team. I mean, you mentioned it with the Lakers, and this team is going to have to figure out a way because Kevin Durant is going to want to score. Draymond, I feel like he can kind of play off the ball, and that's not an issue because he can dish the ball out and rebound the ball. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. But with Durant, with Curry, and with Thompson, who's going to take the last shot? Because if Durant takes it and he misses it, then you're like, why didn't you give it to Curry? If Curry takes it and misses, why didn't you give it to Durant or Thompson or somebody? So this team, it's going to take a lot for this team to mesh. Although Curry and Thompson and Green and Kerr all went out and they wanted him to come. They recruited him to come. So I'm sure they have something up their sleeve that's going to make this work. And I think Steve Kerr is going to make his money this year because when you have all these stars, you have all these wants and needs. And Steve Kerr is going to have to learn how to manage that, and he's going to have to do it pretty quick because this team is going to have all the pressure on them. They're going to have the target on their backs, even though they did not win the finals. So Steve Kerr has a big job ahead of him this year.
Absolutely, he does. And he's got to find a way to make this work. And Josh, thanks for pointing that out. I completely forgot Mo Space signed with the Clippers, so thank you for saving me there. So that's another center that they don't have. And I'm looking at the projected starting lineup right now, and their starting center is Zaza Pachulia. And that, to me, is a big problem. You look at what Cleveland did in the finals. How did they win? They attacked the paint. And who are you going to lean on? If you face Cleveland, if you even get out of the West, you face Cleveland in the finals again, you got a better Kyrie and a better LeBron coming at you. Are you going to lean on Zaza Pachulia to stop them? Is that what you're going to do? Are you going to put Zaza Pachulia in there with Tristan Thompson and say, go win this rebounding battle? I don't think that's what it takes. Obviously, you throw Kevin Durant on this team, there's not a shortage of superstars. There's not a shortage of names. But by letting Bogut walk, and even by letting Barnes walk, who was their fourth leading rebounder last year with under 5 a game, you're lacking rebounds right now. I mean, I know Kevin Durant can pick up the slack and then so for Harrison Barnes, but I just can't get over the fact that their big men are going to be so thin. I just can't. I mean, even if they had gone and gotten, I said go get Al Horford, that'll do it right there because they've got enough scoring as is. But defense wins championships. And I know the NBA is an offensive-centered league, but defense wins championships, and you have to attack the paint if you're going to win.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you saw it last year. You're going to have to attack the paint, and that's a really big issue. So they're gonna have to figure this out because they need a center. I mean, you saw what the Lakers gave to Timothy Mozgov just to protect the paint. So I don't think they have that money left to go out and pay somebody else. So they're gonna have to sign somebody for the veteran minimum. I mean, David West is a solid player. He's not a center though. He's a power forward at best. So I don't know who's out there on the market still, but you're gonna have to go find somebody who will sign for the veteran minimum and who will provide quality minutes for you off the bench.
Yeah, and I love what the Lakers have done this offseason, which is going to transition to our next question. But let me just get this out on the Lakers. Mozgov, I love. He just got hurt early in the year, and that hurt his playing time. I think he's a physical center. I think he's good enough to make an impact right away on the Lakers. They got Ingram, they got Luol Deng, D'Angelo Russell. I love what they're doing in LA right now. But my next question, Josh, and my answer is not the Lakers for this, but to you, who won free agency so far?
This is a team that only made one acquisition, and that is the Boston Celtics. They have a great core already with them, led by Isaiah Thomas. They went out and tried to get Kevin Durant. Didn't work out. I don't blame them for not landing him because he went to a team that is ready to win a championship right now. But the Celtics may not be far off. They signed Al Horford. That was really their only big acquisition. They re-signed Amir Johnson. They have Isaiah Thomas. They have some quality players there. And Brad Stevens is one of the best young coaches in the NBA. This team is built to win. And if they can get to the Eastern Conference Finals, I think they could give the Cavs some fits. Because I don't know who else is going to come out of this Eastern Conference. Maybe the Raptors. But they didn't really impress me this past year. The Heat are not as good without D-Wade. The Bulls, I don't know. You can talk about the Bulls. I'm not an expert on them by any means, but this is a weaker Eastern Conference as we've seen in past years, and the Celtics are starting to get to that peak right now, and I think they could give the Cavs some fits. So my winners of free agency are the Boston Celtics.
I agree with you there. I think the Celtics made great moves. Al Horford, to me, was probably next to Kevin Durant the most valuable free agent because I think there were a lot of teams that were just a center away from a title, i.e. Golden State. But I can't look away from the Spurs. I mean, Tim Duncan getting old. Yes, he's not even close to what he was 4 years ago, 3 years ago. But you know what they did? They went out and got Pau Gasol, a guy who can give you a double-double on any given night. Granted, not for much longer. But next year, I mean, this team they're looking at Kawhi Leonard, Tony Parker, Aldridge, Duncan, Gasol, Danny Green, all these guys. I mean, the Spurs, I think right now, if I had to place money on any team coming out of the West, I'm looking at the Spurs. And I'm going to bet on them just because I think that their presence in the paint with this Pau Gasol addition and their ability to score down low, and Pau Gasol is one of the best passing big men in the league too, their ability to score down low and distribute the ball is going to be probably up there with anyone in the league, perhaps better than anyone in the league, just Golden State to match. But so I agree with you that the Celtics are right up there. I don't think they beat Cleveland just because they don't have the LeBron James that Cleveland does, which is not fair to say because nobody else does. But I think San Antonio beats out Boston just because I think of what's going on in the West right now. It's a toss-up. And San Antonio made a great move in getting Pau Gasol, and they're ready to win right now. And I think they can. I really, really do.
Yeah, and it wasn't even just in free agency that they had a good acquisition. It was also in the draft. I mean, drafting DeJounte Murray, he fits that system perfectly, and I think he's going to be a scorer for them. So you add in Pau Gasol, you add in DeJounte Murray, you add in all those other pieces that were already there. You do lose David West and Boris Diaw, so that could hurt them a little bit on their bench. But I still think this team is built to win if they can get to the Western Conference Finals, because now it's basically a two-team race in the West, with the Thunder most likely out of the equation. So I think we're looking at the Warriors and the Spurs, and that's going to be a great matchup when it comes down to that.
Yeah, and here's the thing. This is going to transition to our next conversation. You say the Warriors are out of it, or I'm sorry, the Thunder are out of the conversation. I'm going to disagree with you there with a little hot take. Here's my case right here. They have the big men. I love their big men. If you can't tell, I value big men now in the NBA after watching what happened in the finals. They have the big men. They've got good role players, Robertson, Waiters, all those guys. They've got Victor Oladipo, who is not Kevin Durant. I'm not going to sit here and say Victor Oladipo is Kevin Durant, although he's a Hoosier. He's not Kevin Durant. He's a great defender. He's a great number 2 guy on a top tier team, and he's a great number 1 guy on a second or third tier team, even fourth. But Russell Westbrook, we are forgetting, Russell Westbrook won the scoring title just a few years ago. This is a guy that is capable of getting a triple-double on any given night. Forget what I said about Pau Gasol getting a double-double on any given night. This is a point guard who can get a triple-double as easy as anyone in the league. And with Kevin Durant out of the equation, first of all, I'm going to say right now Russell Westbrook wins MVP next year, and it's not close. But this guy can put up incredible numbers. He can take over games, and he's got a good Robin to his Batman and Vic Oladipo. They're not that far off talent-wise. They're going to be incredibly athletic, incredibly flashy. They play great defense. They'll hit the boards. They'll play scrappy basketball. And if they get a 3 or a 4 seed in the playoffs, which I'm looking at right now, I like their chances to do that. I think they could give whoever they play in the second round, whether that be San Antonio or Golden State, a serious run for a conference semifinal game. I would not be shocked at all if it went 7. But again, I think their lack of ability to score with Kevin Durant now gone, that's a huge loss, will catch up to them. I don't think they'll win the West. I don't think they'll win a title next year. They're definitely at least a scorer away, but they have the pieces to give teams a run. And I think the Thunder are going to be in the thick of things come April, but come May, I think they'll be done. But don't be surprised if they give Golden State or San Antonio a run in the second round of the playoffs. I still love what they have.
Yeah, no doubt. I memean, they have Cantor, they got Adams, they got Domantas Sabonis, who's a great rookie out of Gonzaga. I'm not going to sit here and rip Victor Oladipo, but because there's no doubt that he's Kevin Durant, but they just don't have that second superstar, because you see on the Warriors, they got that kind of big 3 with Curry, Thompson, and Draymond Green. You got the Cavs with Love, Irving, and James. I mean, you need that third guy there. I don't know if any of those other guys on the Thunder, besides Westbrook and Oladipo, are really that third guy that can get you there. The Spurs have that. They have depth on that team. I just don't see the Thunder getting much, maybe past the second round. I still think they're a playoff team, no doubt, but it's going to be a struggle for them this year, and they're going to have to find a way to win. Billy Donovan did a great job last year. He's going to have almost a bigger job to do this year, because they don't want to lose Russell Westbrook after this next year also. So it's kind of, you got to keep Westbrook, you got to be competitive. So they have their work cut out for them, no doubt, this year.
Yeah, and they're a very young team, and there's still moves that they can make. They can trade some guys, but if I'm the Thunder, I'm not giving up quite yet, because who knows what's going to happen at Golden State. I mean, Kevin Durant could absolutely hate Steph and Draymond as he not get along with them, blah, blah, blah. Anything could happen in the West. So, I mean, that's all I got for now. I don't think the Thunder are going to win the West. I don't think they'll really contend for it, but what have you. Josh, what do you got for our last topic of free agency?
Our sleeper team. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that made some kind of just small signings, but we're only 1 or maybe 2 players away from being competitive. So my sleeper team comes with the Dallas Mavericks. I really like what they did this year. They re-signed Dirk Nowitzki. They got him back on a contract. They'll re-sign Darren Williams, who will be healthy this year. They added Dwight Powell, who's a quality big man. He was at Stanford. He was on that team that beat Kansas back in the NCAA tournament a couple years ago. He's a solid big man. I think he is waiting to emerge in this league. And then he went out and signed Harrison Barnes. Great signing. The Warriors had no room for him. They took him in. They also traded for Andrew Bogut, another good signing. If he's not hurt, he can be effective still in this league. They also signed Seth Curry, which is kind of an interesting signing there, because I think they're only a Gerald Green away from starting a Thompson, Curry, Green, Bogut, Barnes starting lineup, which was the Warriors last year. So interesting twist there. But I think the Mavericks have the pieces to compete. I know Dirk's getting old. They're going to make one more run at this thing. Harrison Barnes is in his prime right now. He's a solid player if he's hitting his shots. He wasn't doing that in the finals. But this is a solid team. I think they can compete maybe for that 5 spot in the West. Maybe even the 4 spot. I don't know how competitive it's going to be. But I think the Mavericks are my sleeper team.
100% agree. I think the Mavericks did a great job in making one final run at the title. My sleeper team, I said enough about them. I think the Thunder don't write them off. I said it all Russ is capable. Oladipo's a good Robin. They won't win the West, but don't write them off. That's all I'm saying. So, but if you want a sleeper team that actually could come out of nowhere and win the West, I would look no further than Dallas, Texas right there. Because, I mean, Josh gave you all the guys that they got this year in the offseason. It's only been a couple weeks. They've done a sensational job, and I think they could compete with anyone right now.
The only thing I have about the Mavericks is Rick Carlisle. He's a great coach. He showed what he can do back when he won the finals over the Heat a couple years ago. But I feel like maybe his time is running out there. So this is kind of a prove-it year for him. I feel like Mark Cuban might be getting a little tired of him. I don't know if they just can't make it to that next level in the West. I feel like Rick Carlisle might be on the hot seat a little bit, but so this is a big year for them. They have the pieces to get to that 5 spot in the West, I believe, maybe even the 4 if there's some injuries along the way for some other teams. But I really like what the Mavericks are doing right now, and it's always fun to root for Mark Cuban, who is an Indiana guy right there.
Absolutely. There's a lot going on in the West, so we'll see how it plays out. But that wraps up our NBA free agency talk. If anything else happens, we'll cover it, but that should do it for the NBA until much, much later, until it's relevant again. But, I mean, it's been a hell of a summer, hell of a 9 days since free agency opened. We'll see what else happens. Segment, uninterrupted, take 2. Josh, this is the second week. Again, much credit to Josh for coming up with this. It's a genius idea, and it's going to spark a lot of conversation. We both have some things to address. Josh has a big thing to address. I just have something to respond to. So, Josh, what do we say? I'll get mine out of the way so we can kind of let you go to work, and we'll see what you can do there.
All right, sounds good.
All right, so last time we had the uninterrupted, I called out the Chicago Bulls. And, I have to do it. They're in my backyard. I've been rooting for them my whole life, and I called them out. I said, you're moving Derrick Rose, you're moving all these pieces, but you're keeping Jimmy Butler, and you say you want to get younger, you want to go into a rebuild, blah, 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 but you're not shopping Jimmy Butler. And if you want to go into a rebuild, you have to get rid of your young all-star, get some picks, get some small pieces, get some young guys, and build from there. So not a lot of clarity coming out. But given the way that the free agency has played out and where everyone's going for the amount of money, and then how the Bulls responded to that, I could not love any more. They're bringing a guy home that's going to sell tickets and get fans in the seats. It's a storyline. They got a pass-first point guard to a superstar in Jimmy Butler who wants to create his own shot and score, and Dwayne Wade and blah, blah, blah. Robin Lopez, a good center who's much better than Joakim Noah was. But put the X's and O's aside. Yes, the Bulls will be better this year than they were last year by far. But put the X's and O's aside. I can't think of the word, but from a standpoint of the general manager, and if you want to build a team that can contend for a title going forward, to me right now, the way the cap room is just going up and up and up, and I tweeted this out the other day. If you want to go check it out, it's a full page. If you want to read it, it'll take you a minute. But the way that the cap room is going up and that free agency is playing out, this league, the NBA, is going to be very, very free agent oriented in the future. I mean, you got guys this year like Brandon Ingram and Ben Simmons who could turn a team around in a year or two, but you're going to have years where the number 1 pick is an Anthony Bennett. Or you're going to have years where Nerlens Noel or Joel Embiid are the top, players coming out of the draft with the, maybe the greatest potential. You're not going to have Simmons and Ingram every year. And even when you do, you look at the Sixers and Lakers who are not really the Lakers, but the Sixers who are going full rebuild. They're terrible. What the Bulls are doing now that I love is they're making themselves relevant. They're a major city in America, so they're a good selling point for a free agent then who wants to, start a family and, bring their family to town, whatever. It's a major city, there's that, so that's a good selling point for free agency. But if you have a relevant team that can contend for the playoffs consistently, you're just a player away. And that's your pitch. That's your pitch to a Kevin Durant in the future. That's your pitch to a LeBron James. Not saying that that's going to happen, but that's your pitch to a player that can take over the league. Is we're just a player away. You're the best that there is. You come to us. We get a ring. You get a ring. We're happy. We can build something here. That's what the Bulls are doing. And I love it. And people don't love it, but I do. I think it's great. They're setting themselves up to be okay this year. They're not going to win a title. Everyone knows that. But they're setting themselves up for free agency in the future. I love it. I'm sorry to anyone who was offended by what I said last time. I was going off. I was not happy. But what they're doing now, I absolutely love. And I think it's a great way for teams to build themselves up is go sign these old guys and build yourself a good reputation around the league and then go get free agents in the future. So that's what I have to say.
Yeah, I mean it's always fun when the Bulls are good. I mean, you saw it in the Jordan days. The Bulls are a good team, or a fun team to root for when they're good. I mean, it's Chicago. Maybe not everybody was rooting for Michael Jordan, but definitely the Bulls make the NBA good. I'm going to transition a little bit. I'm going to go international again. Last time I talked about Brexit and what it could do for the English Premier League. But this time I'm going to transition down to South America and talk about the Olympics, because right now it is kind of a mess. So the Olympics get underway August 5th, and we're under a month away. But there's some bigger issues going on right now with the Rio Olympics. First of all, they are $1.6 billion over budget. And last time I checked, Brazil is not an economic hotbed. So I don't know where they're coming up with this money, but somehow, some way, people are going to have to pay for this. So that's the first issue. The second issue is athletes not wanting to go because of Zika virus. Now, one of the head of the Olympic Committee said that Zika is not one of the top 10 concerns because in the Southern Hemisphere, in the summer months, it is winter. So hopefully that keeps some of the mosquitoes out of there. It's not going to keep all of them out, especially when you're playing soccer games in Manaus, which is in basically the middle of the rainforest. So that I'm sure is going to be nice and hot and humid there, where mosquitoes love to feed on anything. But the second thing is, will Olympic teams be sending their best to Brazil, or will it just be those who are willing to go? So you saw Dustin Johnson. He just turned down a bid to go to the Olympics because of the Zika concern. LeBron James won't be showing up, and I think this is just the beginning of many more U.S. athletes turning down the Olympics. Now, there are those that are willing to go, and I think they should go, because the Olympics for some are a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and you're only in your prime once in your career. So if you have a chance to go, I would go. But the issue is there is so much pollution in these waters that it is becoming unsafe. There is a sailing competition in the water of Guanabara Bay, which is still not clean. Some Olympic sailing events will be there, and right now only 50% of the sewage flowing into those waters is being treated. So one of the Olympic Committee members said he hoped 80% of that water would be clean, but it is at 50%. So that's not a good sign right now. And to go on top of that, Brazil just impeached their president and has a massive pile of debt. Going back to that $1.6 billion or $billion is an issue. So I'm a big fan of the Olympics. I really hope the Olympics turn out well. NBC does a great job of covering them here in the States. I just hope things go off without any issues, because stadiums aren't finished yet. They're in a lot of debt, and tickets are not being sold because they're so expensive for locals to go. So it'll be an experiment, no doubt, and the world will be watching when August 5th comes about in Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah, and this whole thing is just completely unbelievable. It's completely inexcusable, and well, we'll get this conversation for just a couple minutes before we move on to our final segment. But I mean, it's just unbelievable. I think I mentioned this last time, but there was a guy on Mike and Mike a few weeks ago who said he was on the Olympic Committee, or he did something to pitch the United States candidate at the time, which was Chicago, and he said that the U.S. and Chicago had by far the best package to pitch to the committee, and Brazil was clearly the least prepared and all that. And they said that basically the decision was made before they even had their pitches. And Brazil was clearly the worst, and everyone was stunned when they finally got it. But what blows my mind even more is just how anyone in their right mind can look at this situation that they have with their debt, with the Zika virus, with the contamination in the water and everything. Look at that situation and say, this seems like a great place. Of all the cities in the world to host the Olympic Games, given the situation, also when you throw in the fact that just 2 years ago they hosted the World Cup, and they've got, that's a lot of money right there too. That's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of tourists, a lot of, dirt, trash, contamination, what have you. A lot of stuff factors into that. That's Olympics, and then hosting the actual Olympics 2 years later, while you're also in debt, while your country is also dirty, and while you're just not ready for it. It blows my mind. And hopefully there aren't any issues going forward, and I hope you're right that this stuff does get up to what he said, 80%, even though it's at 50 now. I hope it's okay, and I hope it improves. But I mean, at this point, it's completely rid. Every part of what's going on right now down in Brazil is just ridiculous. I think we lost Josh. He's frozen over there. So, all right, he's still frozen. All right, we're going to work on getting him back up. But for now, we're going to move on to our what to watch for. Josh, we'll try and we're going to do everything we can to get him back up here. But for our what to watch for right now, as everybody knows, Wimbledon wrapped up today. Andy Murray, the hometown hero. Oh, Josh, he's back. Oh, no, he left. All right, well, all right, we're going to try and get him back up here. So we're going to move on. Yeah, what to watch for Wimbledon. Andy Murray, hometown hero. He won it today. That's his second Wimbledon title in the past couple of years. Serena yesterday took home the women's title, her 22nd career Grand Slam, or her major title. Unbelievable. To me, the greatest athlete I think that our generation, our our college age generation has witnessed ever. She's just dominant. She has been forever. Singles and doubles. She can do it all. So big congrats to her. This is a huge deal. So tennis is the spotlight's off that after a great couple weeks of Wimbledon and a great semifinals and championship weekend. Cubs turn the momentum around today. Actually, right now against Pittsburgh in an NL Central battle, they are looking absolutely awful. It's paining me to watch. So I'm going to move on from that just so I don't cry. And the Euro wraps up today. We got France versus Portugal, I believe, at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And the Open is next week, so we've got golf coming up on the horizon. And the most wonderful time of the year continues. Josh, welcome back. You left us for a second, but he's back now.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi connection. Always a little troublesome over here. But nonetheless, this is a fun week because you have the All-Star Game and the Home Run Derby, two of the best, I think, events during the summer. It's a good celebration of baseball. I love what they're doing with the Home Run Derby now. That's on Monday night, I believe 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ESPN. It's Chris Berman's last Home Run Derby. So you're going to get a lot of those backs because he's going to try to get as many of those in his last year. Sure to be fun. I love what they're doing with this bracket and the timing. There's some really good first-round matchups. Like I really like the Giancarlo Stanton, Robinson Cano one. Cano won it a couple years ago. Stanton, all he does is hit home runs. It'll be interesting to see in Petco Park how many people hit home runs because that's known as a pitcher's park. So that'll be interesting to see. Also, you got the All-Star Game on Tuesday night. That's always such a great event. And then Wednesday night, I almost forgot about this, are the ESPYs. John Cena is hosting them. That's always a great event. It's the only day of the entire year where there's not one professional sporting event, and it is on Wednesday night, and that's why they have the ESPYs then. A little fun fact for you there. So another fun week, even though there's not a lot of baseball. You got golf starting up on Thursday at Royal Troon over there in Scotland. So a lot of good sports up on the docket this week.
Yeah, I completely forgot about the ESPYs. And John Cena, I can already tell you, is going to absolutely kill it as the host. When they announced he was doing it, I could not have been more excited. I think, honestly, it'll be the best, maybe the best hosting job since Justin Timberlake did it way back when. Maybe we could do that for our power ranking segment. If we've caught all the ESPYs since then, we could do our top ESPYs host. That'd be fun. But we'll see how John Cena does, see if it sparks any conversation. If not, we'll find something else. But speaking of power rankings, it's that time of the week again. We're going to go back to our MLB power rankings with season in full swing and a lot of head-scratching things going on right now. I'll lead us off with my number 5. Josh, we'll go back and forth on this one. My number 5 right now, and I don't really think they should be in it, but just because of the guys that they have and their record, I have to. The Cubs are number 5. They probably should be. They're 1-9 in their last 10 games. They can't do anything right. Jake Arrieta, honestly, from watching him the past 2 months, he hasn't done a single thing well. He struggles early. He struggled early pretty much all season, but he's struggling more earlier now, and he can't get it together. So his fastball can't find the zone. His breaking balls can't find the zone. He can't do anything right now. He's honestly, for lack of a better term, he's bad. He's playing poor. Dexter Fowler's been hurt. That doesn't help, but the Cubs can't do anything right now. It's a miracle they're number 5, but it's just because they got off to such a hot start. All-Star break cannot come soon enough. They're going to be healthy after the break and hopefully just turn it around and make this a phase. But I'm almost concerned for the Cubs' future at this point.
Yeah, no, there's a right to be concerned about the Cubs right now because they're just not getting it done lately. It's been a fun series in Pittsburgh to watch. That Josh Bell kid has been incredible to watch. But my number 5 is the Nationals. I really like what they're doing right now. They're hanging in there in an NL East where you got the Mets 5 games behind you, you got the Marlins 6 games behind you. So the Nationals are playing well. Steven Strasburg has not lost a game this year. Dusty Baker's done a great job. They're getting people up. They got Lucas Giolito in there a couple weeks ago. He's their top prospect. He's got sent back down to AAA, though, before the All-Star break. But this is a team on the rise. They're playing well. They're above 50 wins. So they come in at my number 5.
I like that. I like that a lot. Number 4 for me, the Indians. That winning streak didn't mean nothing, right? That winning streak did not mean nothing. They were firing on all cylinders. They struggled coming after that. But that winning streak didn't mean that didn't happen for no reason. And they're right up there with anyone in the MLB numbers-wise right now after that just dominant couple of weeks stretch. And it was a good month to be a Clevelander in the month of June, Josh.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, they were in the middle of that winning streak when they won the finals, and then they go on that road trip where they go to the same places the Cavs won, and they won all the same games that the Cavs won. It was kind of insane right there. My number 4 is also the Indians. You said it. That losing streak was real, or that winning streak, it was definitely real. Their pitching is insane. They got Kluber, former Cy Young winner. You got Danny Salazar, who I think should start the All-Star game. You got Carrasco. You got Josh Tomlin. I mean, this is a solid starting rotation. And that's going to carry them far because they have the bats to do it right now. Francisco Lindor, great young player. So the Indians coming in at number 4. They're playing great baseball right now.
Absolutely. I mean, can't disagree with you there. Number 3, Nationals. I like the Nationals. I like Bryce Harper. I like Daniel Murphy. I've said it before. I love their offense. I think they're so complete from Revere to Harper, to Worth to Murphy to all those guys. I love their offense. I love what they can do. To me, they're just so complete at the plate. They've got everything that a good team, should have. And obviously there's exceptions, blah, blah, blah. To me, at the plate, they've got everything a good team should have. Not to mention their rotation is not that bad either. You got Scherzer, Strasburg, all these guys are putting up ridiculous numbers. So Nationals at number 3, they've got it all. To me right now, they're just a couple winning streaks away from being my number 1. I'm in love with what the Nationals are doing.
Yeah, no doubt. Dusty Baker's done a great job there. But my number 3 is actually your number 5. I may not be as hard on the Cubs as you are, but the Cubs come in at number 3. They have not been playing well. They have just been playing awful. You said 1-9 in their past 10 games, but this is still the Cubs. They still have their entire infield starting the All-Star game. Dexter Fowler is coming back. I don't think it's a fluke that the Cubs are on this losing streak without this kind of losing skid without Dexter Fowler. He's a key piece to that team. He's the catalyst at the start of that order, and he's coming back. I don't know if he's going to play in the All-Star game or not. He's supposed to start, but he'll definitely be back after the All-Star break. He's on a rehab assignment up at South Bend. But this Cubs team set them up so fantastic. They're still 6 games up in the NL Central. They're still a solid team. They're just going through a rough patch. All good teams do it, but they're not going to touch that 2001 Mariners 116 wins. I can tell you that.
No, they absolutely will not. I'll give you that. I'll tip my cap to that team. That they won't come anywhere near that. But this is a good time to have this bad stretch, and it's a good time to get it all out now before the break, and then start hot, start over it again. So it makes me feel better that you have them at number 3. To be completely honest with you, number 2, I'm going out to California. I'm going out west. The LA Dodgers. Corey Seager is the man. I love this guy. I love what he brings to the table. And what's not to love about Clayton Kershaw? I love their pitching rotation. Again, I love their offense. I think it's very complete also. I don't love it as much as I do Washington, but good pitching beats good hitting there, which is a very clear reason of why my number 1 team is my number 1 team. But for now, number 2, I love the Dodgers.
Yeah, no, the Dodgers are getting it done. I believe they're in a wild card spot in the NL, so they're a solid team right now. But my number 2, I'm going down to Texas, and I am going with the Texas Rangers. This team is for real. They got pitching, they have hitting, and they play in a ballpark that suits them very, very well. Their pitching is good for that ballpark. They don't give up a lot of home runs, and their offense hits a lot of home runs because they play in that ballpark. Adrian Beltre, I swear this guy never gets old. He is still at the top of his game. Rougned Odor served his suspension, got all his punching out of the way. He's playing great. I saw them firsthand when they came to Seattle in June. They're a solid team, and they have just kept that up. They played consistent baseball. But I will say, the Astros didn't make my list, but they have got to be number 6 or 7 because they're playing great baseball right now as well. Just swept the Mariners away. So that's a good team right now. But I'll hand it over to you for your number one.
I agree with those, and both those guys just got left out. The Astros and the Rangers of my top five, but my number one has got to be San Francisco. I mean, Bum and Cueto. I can't get over just this right here. They've been sensational, here and there in the past, but this year they're clicking. They've got Samardzija, Jake Peavy. I love Jake Peavy, always have, despite his age. He does get old, unlike Adrian Beltre, who I swear to you, you're completely right. I swear the guy's been 25 for 15 years. But the Giants are my number one. Like I said, good pitching beats good hitting, and their hitting is not bad. It's nothing to shake your stick at. They're very steady at the plate. They put the bat on the ball, and their guys are playing well right now. So Cueto and Bumgarner lead the Giants to my number one in the power rankings.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't disagree with you right now. I mean, it was the Cubs a couple months ago, and now it's the Giants. You can't say the Giants are not the best team in baseball right now because, like you said, Cueto is pitching out of his mind right now. Bumgarner, who's pitching today, which is too bad he can't pitch in the All-Star game because he's pitching today, and actually just got a news alert that Danny Salazar cannot pitch in the All-Star game because he started yesterday. So that's a bummer because he was probably in contention to start the game. It's instead Jose Quintana getting the place. But nonetheless, the Giants are getting it done. They don't have Matt Duffy right now. They're injured in their position players are a bit banged up right now, but they still got Buster Posey, still got Brandon Belt in there who's going to the All-Star game. This is a solid team, and it's an even year. So there's something to be said for that. Giants got to be number one right now.
I was going to throw in that even year little thing, but you beat me to it. But yeah, we agree on our top. We agree on our top thing whenever we do a sports-related power ranking, which I don't mind. So that means that there's kind of a clear consensus there. But I just think it's funny. I had to throw that out there. So that's all we got. Josh, you got anything to add for the closing?
No, I don't. It was a good show though.
Yeah, and I know we've talked a lot of NBA in the past few weeks, but there was just a lot to talk about. Where there's content, you got to address it, and we did. So pending a big move in the offseason, we'll be pushing the NBA to the side. We'll be talking the Open next time. A lot of baseball. Euro wraps up today, so soccer will be kind of out of the way for a little bit too, taking the back seat with the NBA. NFL kind of around the corner. College football coming around the corner. Not quite yet, but we're getting close. So we're going to be bouncing around a lot in the coming weeks, so make sure you stay tuned each week to hear what we have to talk about. We're going to try and get you guys more involved in the show if anybody wants to come on. If you love listening to us, if you love watching us, call us out on Twitter, tweet at us. We'd love to get you on, talk about anything you want, get you on for a segment, whatever. So let us know on Twitter. My Twitter handle is right there. Josh is at Josh Eastern. And that's all the time we have for today. So thanks for tuning in. I know it's a Sunday, so for those of you that tuned in live, thank you very much. I know it's a family day. But stay tuned for the podcast. That'll be up on iTunes and on the Assembly Call website. So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.